Hi guys, bringing you another video today on a pair of British Army boots. In this instance we have what essentially is the replacement for the canvas and rubber jungle boot that had been worn from the late 40s through until the 70s certainly. And these essentially in design are the lower half of a standard British DMS boot with canvas uppers, obviously high leg canvas uppers, akin to the American jungle boot designed for use in Vietnam. The leather is obviously, there's no toe cap and it's all pebble grain, so it's a slightly different design in that regard. But the sole, as you can see here, is standard DMS tread, DMS pattern. Another feature copied from the American jungle boots is the drainage eyelets here. And obviously these could be worn with the British mesh insoles, as you can see here, which would allow obviously water to pool and then drain underneath the foot in the boot. I'm not sure quite when these were introduced. They certainly seem to have been around in the 80s. They're possibly late 70s introduction, I don't know. My gut feeling is 1980s. Similar to the British Army Desert Boot from the Gulf War, the DMS Desert Boot, these have mixed reviews from what I can see and what I've seen people talk about them on the Army Rumour Service forum and various places. They're certainly not as good as the American jungle boot. The tread and everything is not as good as the later Panama soled examples. I'm not sure whether they're rock proofed or not, and I don't know whether they have a metal insole similar to the American boots to protect from pungy sticks. But they're certainly well made compared to standard DMS boots. From what I can see, the stitching and so on seems to be good. I don't know if you can see in there, there's a sort of slightly padded insole in there. As I say, I don't know. I've never worn them in Wettingborough. Well, these have never been worn. They're just part of my collection. I can't really give any advice one way or the other of whether these are a decent pair of boot for jungle conditions. As I say, mixed reviews I've seen online similar to the Desert Boot, which of course was developed from these. There are some reports of these being worn in the first Gulf War, in the Persian Gulf War, with these glued up so as not to allow sand in. Obviously, because they are they're arguably superior to the combat boot in that regard, as they are designed for hot weather, having the canvas uppers and everything, and they have the ankle reinforcement again, similar to the American boot. This appears to be cotton rather than nylon. They eventually were replaced by American-made jungle boots, or they were issued concurrently with American-made jungle boots. And now, of course, there's the Welco and then the various manufacturers of hot weather and jungle boots, which come from Altberg and various other manufacturers that are worn today. So I'm not sure these had a particularly long service life. They're an interesting design, as they mate the American jungle boot concept with British manufacturing and the DMS sole and everything. And as I say, I have read, they were certainly worn, I've read of people's reports of them, mixed reviews, as I say. I don't know if anyone on here who sees the video knows the date of introduction of these and when they were phased out of service. I'd be interested to know. I'm fairly sure they'd probably gone out by the late 90s, mid to late 90s at the latest. But yeah, an interesting pair of boots, an interesting design. These do turn up quite often unworn, so I would imagine that quite a lot were made and never issued. Certainly the preference, it seems to be expressed from accounts of veterans I've read, is definitely for the American jungle boot if they could get hold of them. So there we are. That's the British DMS jungle boot in all its glory. I hope you found that interesting. As I say, I'm sorry I couldn't provide more information regards dates and things. As I say, if anyone can fill in that detail for me, I'd be very interested to know. So I hope you found that interesting, and until next time, bye for now.